Good morning, everyone, and welcome to University Unitarian Church in Seattle, Washington. I feel like I'm in a room full of aliens. I haven't seen people for a long time, and this is really our first Sunday when we have members back with us in select numbers as we start to reopen and re-entry full church life here. It's good to see you all this morning and to be together. Of course, our impulse is, or mine anyway, is as soon as we see each other, is to just grab each other and hug each other. And maybe the best thing to do as we move forward is to, if you are so inclined, is to ask somebody's permission if they would appreciate that or whether they wouldn't appreciate it as we get used to being back together, of course. My name is John Lawopa, and I'm the senior minister here, and happy to welcome you all this morning. I'm here with Beth Chronister, my colleague, and our musicians and our tech crew. A couple of announcements as we begin the service. Immediately after the service this morning, during our Zoom coffee hour, one of the breakout rooms will feature a budget hearing as we get ready for our annual meeting on June 13th. So the budget hearing will take place today at 10:30, and if you are unable to join in that conversation, it will be repeated on Tuesday evening this week at 7 o'clock. Next week is our annual Children's Sunday and Flower Communion, and we're still doing it mostly virtual and are still in need of members to send us photographs of themselves or with their kids or their pets and some flowers. And if you could send that to all lowercase flowercommunion@uuchurch.org by Tuesday, that would be very helpful for us. But we're also adding a tailgate flower communion in the parking lot in addition. So if you'd like to sign up for that, you do need to do that. I think those were my announcements this morning. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but it's just good to be back together. Let us begin the service this morning with the ringing of the bell.
This is the keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on song. I'm Abigail, and this is Sean, and we're so glad that you've turned this on and welcomed us into your home, and you are welcome into our home. We're in Dayton, Ohio. We're in Sean's parents' house.
My parents' house.
Sean's parents' house. We were in Louisville when the shit hit, and we packed our 3-year-old into a car. We drove kind of far. We drove here, and we've been so lucky and blessed to be safely here. And we thought we'd be here for like 10 days, tops.
What did we know?
What did we know?
What
did we know? We thought we knew a lot. We thought we knew a lot.
Keep going, keep going,
Woo!
keep going on.
Keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. And we've been mostly healthy. We've been okay. Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you okay? I hope your body's whole tonight. And if your heart is breaking, I hope it's breaking open. And if your breath is shaking, I hope it's shaking through. And I hope that you've watched a lot of really great television, like a lot of it. And I hope that you find a hand lotion that actually makes your skin feel better. And I hope that you have enough to eat. Hope you're getting enough sleep, and I hope you have enough good company or enough good memory to last you a long time. Keep going on. Keep going on, song. We sing the keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on, song. Let's bring some joy into the room, why not? We could try it, or some rage,
Keep going, keep going.
and some grief and relief. Ooh, I hold my rage, I pray my rage is a fire that cleans my mind out and makes me ready to listen. I pray my pain is a river that flows to the ocean that connects my pain to yours. And I pray my happiness is like pollen that flies to you and pollinates your joy. Oh boy, is that possible? I don't know. We are making this up as we go. We have to make it up as we go. The keep going song. Oh, we're making it up. We're making it up as we go. Keep going on. Keep going on, song. And I pray that when we meet again, that the world has changed into the world that we are imagining now together. And I pray that the world has become the world that we're planting inside of ourselves for each other and for our ancestors and for our kids. Ooh, and we're gonna start. This is a rough beginning. That's all I've got is a rough beginning to offer you. We're gonna start by singing some songs in this tiny space together. We're just gonna sing some songs for you, and we hope that when you hear them, you will feel a little bit less alone, and we will feel a little bit less alone in the work and in the hurt, and we will be together tonight somehow, whenever this is, wherever this is. We will be together tonight for the keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on.
We gather this day as a community of faith, and we come once again in search of life's meanings. All of us have known despair and exaltation, and each one bears a special burden. All have moments of weakness and times of strength, and all sing songs of sorrow and of love. May our worship together today, of all days, bring us strength along the way. For in the presence of the sacred we come to know our true selves and to find once again a fresh impulse to love and to do good. Come, let us worship. I invite you, as you are able, or to remain seated as we sing our doxology together, words printed on the screen, and our opening hymn, number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Hello, I'm Bill McPherson. I've been a member of University Unitarian Church for 6 years. I'm a member of the Loft Choir and of social justice groups, including Climate Action Team and the Economic Justice Team. I also work in the wider UU community, at the state level with Justice Washington, at the national level with UU Ministry for Earth, and the international level with the UU office at the UN. Your contributions help support all of these important programs of Unitarian Universalists at the state, national, and global levels. Our Unitarian Universalist principles and values are involved at all the levels. Now please join with me in saying the words we say together each week. This church is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. When we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
The first hymn we sung this morning, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door, was written by Louis Untermeyer, who was the only son of a very wealthy Rhode Island family in the jewelry business, and he wanted to write poetry, and his father wanted him to become the vice president of the jewelry business, which he did for about 2 months, and then he went off and wrote poetry, and that's how we remember him. That hymn was the dedication hymn of my former congregation in Hartford, Connecticut. And over the 13 years that I served them, every Sunday we sang that hymn. I'd look out, and certainly among the elders who were in the congregation still and were there at the dedication of the building, there were tears streaming down their cheeks because of their great affection for the place and for the people. What a wonderful thing for us this morning, for me to look out and Beth to look out and to see tears on many cheeks in this audience this morning as we regather as a community of faith and of struggle and of joy. I invite you now to join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation as we take a moment to try to recapture the lost magic that is at the core of our being, that holds us together amidst all the tribulations and struggles of life, which brings to each of us a smile on our face and a jump in our heart. Let it be our prayer this morning that in being together once again, we are more truly ourselves, and that the incompleteness in ourselves is made more complete when we are able to bring healing where there is hurt, and peace where there is violence, beauty where there is ugliness, justice where there is brokenness, and beginnings where there are dead ends. Maybe be awakened once again to gratitude for our lives and love for every living thing, and joy in what is human and holy, and praise for all sources of renewal and the resource of the new. Renew then, O source of our being, a trust which may be beyond our grasp, but within our reach, past our knowing, but within our searching, the disturber of the assured and the assurer of the disturbed, the destroyer of illusions, the creator of dreams, the source of silence and music, communion and solitude, light and darkness, death and life. And if we are lucky, may we be granted glee in our bodies, prayer in our hearts, trust at our core, songs for the journey, and a sense of that beloved community because of which we are most truly ourselves. To these imperfect words, we add the silent intentions, longings, and dreams of our hearts and minds. So may it be. Amen.
Return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return to the home of your soul.
I love an infographic. I love infographics particularly that are placed at lookouts along the side of the road that describe a geological history of the place where you are. I mean, how lucky is it to have these little reminders sprinkled about, inviting us to interrupt the hustle and the bustle, the go, 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 and the driving to get somewhere else than where you are, and inviting us instead to pause, to look, listen, hear, learn, and be amazed exactly where you are. Having lived in various parts of the United States, I must say that the infographics in Washington State are particularly fine. The land that surrounds this church was formed over hundreds of millions of years by a combination of volcanoes erupting, plates colliding, glaciers carving, and rivers rushing. There is a lot of drama in our geological history in the Pacific Northwest, albeit unfolding at a glacial pace. And this is true of the land wherever you are. The land, when viewed through the lens of deep time, tells stunning stories of massive, near unimaginable transitions and transformations over and over again. Mountains rise and fall. Seas swell and recede. Ice ages dance across time. The earth is a living planet, and change is her constant. And I think that I search out these geological stories so much in part because I often need to be reminded that change is just a part of being alive, an essential part, fundamental to aliveness. The earth, her landscapes and seasons remind us that change is neither inherently good or bad. It just is. I have often found myself wanting to reduce or manage the unknowable in my own life. Some of the moments of most personal anguish was when I was in periods of great uncertainty, not knowing where I was going to live, where a relationship was going, when I waited for a diagnosis, or when I feared for the future of this country. In these times, there's been this inner turmoil, a mix of anxiety, overwhelm, and grasping as I hit the limits of what I can control. That all becomes very clear. And I also know that in retrospect, that each of these crossroads in life eventually led to new growth, deeper understanding, and increased empathy, whether or not I was initially pleased by whatever change had happened. All of the most significant and formative events in a lifetime require some leap into the unknown. Partnering, parenting, divorce, birth, that's a leap into the unknown. Death, healing, releasing or embracing an identity, seeking belonging, finding your people, coming into your own purpose or discovering your voice. All leaps into the unknown, and these shape and reshape the landscapes of our lives. What lies past our knowing, past our ability to predict, often beyond our control, can be utterly ripe with life. It is within the unknown, in the dual processes of growth and change, where we may grow our souls, which is easier and more poetic said than done. Individuals and cultures are all over the map in terms of relationship to change. I bet you've encountered your relationship to change, some in this past year, maybe right now as well. There's even a scale that claims to measure a person's psychological openness to change and willingness to adapt to environmental and organizational changes. And wherever you land on that scale, losing what was familiar, unexpected or unwelcome change, or teetering on the edge of the unknown can be anywhere from unsettling to traumatizing. And for this, in part, we can thank our truly wondrous ever-evolving human brains. Over many millennia, our brains evolved for survival and thus a desire for predictability and a fear of the unknown. Predictability pleases the human brain, though unpredictability also has its place under certain circumstances. There are cognitive neuroscientists who claim that one of the brain's main purposes is to predict what comes next. Between your ears is a prediction-making machine, and your reward centers light up when those predictions come true. When new information or surprise does happen, the brain works hard to integrate the information in order to adjust its future predictions. Finding pleasure in predictability is one of the subconscious reasons why so many love music so much. Familiar chords and predictable note patterns bring pleasure, particularly when mixed with just a little surprise. Just think about how you feel when we sing a hymn that you know and love versus one you've never sang before. Or when Dwight and the choir bring new life into a familiar hymn on that final verse. Just a little surprise. This hard wiring for predictability is also one of the reasons why family dynamics can get so volatile when one member of the family is becoming more emotionally mature or possibly getting sober. Predictability within a family, even when the pattern is dysfunctional, is often subconsciously preferred to the unknown. And I believe this applies to organizations as well and to societies as a whole. So what happens when something disrupts everything? What happens when things fall apart? When the familiar and the predictable suddenly disappear and the world seems upside down? Heartbreakingly, this possibility always exists for families and individuals. Life can change in a matter of seconds. And somewhere out there right now, there are people whose world is being upended. And so wherever they are, send them some breath right now. David White writes, "Vulnerability is not a weakness, a passing indisposition, or something we can't arrange to do without. Vulnerability is not a choice. Vulnerability is the underlying, ever-present, and abiding current of our natural state. Sudden change, vulnerability, loss, unpredictability is always with us. Uncertainty and the unknown always outweighs what can be pinned down. But those of us with privilege and fortune, we can choose to keep these truths at bay for periods of time, but not forever. And wow, have we ever been confronted with the limits of our own control, our vulnerabilities, as well as our privileges, and the precarity of existence since the pandemic swept the globe and changed everything almost overnight? As you know, as you feel in your bodies and carry, we have been living within intense global upheaval, trauma, and loss for a very long time. And this has required a myriad of changes and ongoing adaptations. I mean, just imagine all the ways that you have changed and adapted in this last year, time and time again. And the familiar, the predictability, the illusions of control, our plans, all faded from view. And oftentimes, whatever systems of support that helped keep you afloat disappeared. or transformed into something entirely online. And this long season of pandemic has also been defined by many, many mounting losses. Loss of life and livelihood, of direction, of familiarity, of human connection. And people, we will be carrying and processing the wounds and the trauma of this time for years to come, most likely. It has also been incredibly revealing about how what was familiar or predictable and largely accepted in society was actually dysfunctional and even harmful in some cases. As the United States became one of the epicenters of the virus, disparities in healthcare, our thin social safety net, the many cumulative impacts of systemic racism and widespread poverty, and the intense pressures on families with children, this all became so stark and clear. In the myth of American exceptionalism, it's all felt very exposed. I've been thinking of the story oftentimes of the emperor has no clothes. And at the same time, that's not the only story. At the same time, the power of people caring for one another and of communities binding together for positive change, the everyday and astonishing courage shown by healthcare workers, by teachers, essential workers, by therapists, by so many who showed up. And there's been so many examples of compassionate and wise leadership and so much abundant creativity. Thank God for the humor of this last year. And so in some ways, it's been absolutely stunning. The efforts of this congregation and the staff to sustain connections and hope, to provide solace and support through hard times, and to keep adapting is something we can all be proud of. I'm sure it wasn't perfect, but this time didn't call for perfection. It called to show up with your whole broken heart. And so I wonder what it is that you learned in this last year that you want to remember. Maybe it's a new awareness about the society in which you live and the role you want to play in it. Or possibly it's a practice that has sustained you through long months of uncertainty. Or even new awareness about a habit from the before times that you don't want to return to. Possibly what it is a greater gratitude for what truly matters. With modern medicine, with the modern miracle of highly effective vaccines and rapid rollout in this country, we are beginning to return to one another, carrying all of this, and return to the features of pre-pandemic life. And while many people, many of us, are experiencing great excitement, myself included, and many of us are experiencing great anxiety, myself included, to return to what was normal, right? But it won't be the same as before. You know this, I know this. There's no going back exactly to what life was. You have changed as a person. We have changed as a people and as a community, and how society has changed and is changing is going to be emerging for some time to come. And so, darn it, we're entering into another phase of transition, another unique phase of adaptation, and it's gonna be gooey, I think, for a while. And it's probably going to be confusing at times. And even those emotions, those conflicting emotions, it's just a lot. It's a lot. Trauma and tension has been held tightly in people's bodies. And as more safety happens, this is going to begin to surface. I know I found myself in tears many times already, just in the last 45 minutes. Expectations and exhaustion have had a long time to build. And there are many needs that have gone unmet for many months. And I imagine a good number of us have probably lost at least some of our social skills, understandably. And many of us will have to face wearing real pants again. And so I pray that there will be plenty of joy, and I know there will be, and humor and relief and breath mixed in, along with grace, gratitude, and grit. Another phase of transition has arrived with all its unknowables, surprises, complexities, and contradictions. Not good, not bad, just is. The landscape keeps shifting. And so how will we keep going on, as the song says? Keep going on and possibly even touch into the aliveness in this moment, in every present moment of transition. And so I offer you a practice and an invitation. In her book, When Things Fall Apart, which was truly a text for this past year, Buddhist nun and teacher Pema Chodron writes, "Life is a good teacher and a good friend. Things are always in transition, if only we could realize it. Nothing ever sums up in the way we like to dream about. The off-center, the in-between state is an ideal situation, a situation in which we don't get caught and we can open our hearts and our minds beyond limit." She teaches that this moment, this present moment, is the perfect teacher, whatever it contains. And that emotions that are often regarded as uncomfortable and repressed, or emotions that are viewed negatively, such as anxiety, irritation, resentment, anger, or embarrassment, these emotions are not to be avoided, but they're actually gold to be mined, attended to with great curiosity and compassion. Buddhist practice shows how everything that arises is not only usable, but the path itself. A practice from Buddhism that supports one in being with suffering, because it's not easy to be with what is uncomfortable. It's not easy to be in chaos. And so a practice she offers is the practice of Tonglen. And Tonglen is a breath and an intention practice that offers a way to be with what is difficult, to even show it compassion, and to let your suffering be a gateway into greater compassion, not only for yourself, but for everybody. She writes, "When suffering arises, the Tonglen instruction is to let the storyline go and breathe it in. Not just the anger, resentment, or loneliness that we might be feeling, but the identical pain of others who in this very moment are also feeling rage, bitterness, or isolation. We breathe it in for everybody We breathe it in for everybody because whatever it is, it's not ours alone, but part of the human condition. And by breathing it in for everybody also experiencing a similar suffering, this can break through the isolation and connect us instead to how we are utterly connected with one another. So breathing in what she calls poison, and breathing out medicine. So breathing out medicine is the intention of breathing out what will ease that shared suffering. Breathing out solace, peace, witness, compassion, or blessed rest. Breathing in anxiety, and breathing out peace. Breathing in grief, and breathing out solace. Breathing in loneliness, and breathing out love for yourself and for everybody. Whatever you are feeling, whatever mix of emotions are with you, you are not alone in it, and it's possible through practice and intention to choose presence, curiosity, and tenderness in response. So this is a practice to carry with you. And I have an invitation. My invitation to you, as we navigate what I do believe will be a much more joyful, despite gooey, transition, is to lean into your interdependence. Lean into your relationships when you need to. Be someone that others can lean on too. Drop the cultural pressure to be self-sufficient or to look as if you have it all together. And let those trusted beloveds in to see and help hold your vulnerabilities. Create a safe space for others to be seen and heard as well. Grief needs to be witnessed before it can possibly heal. Trauma requires regaining a sense of safety before the body can begin to process it. And so be this witness and this safety for others. So much of this past year has been spent in differing levels of isolation. Thank God for the relationships and connections that remained, whether they were in person or online. And now we begin to return to one another in wider and wider circles, a changed people living in a changed world. Let us face the unknowns with courage, with grounding breath, curiosity and compassion for self and others. But maybe most importantly, let's face the unknowns together. Imagine what we might create out of the chaos if we do. Blessed be, beloveds. Amen. Now, would you please join in singing or humming hymn number 18, What Wondrous Love.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul. What wondrous love is this, O my soul. What What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, when I was sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round, oh my soul, friends to me gathered round, oh my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, with thanks unto the end I will sing.
I close with these words from our prelude, the Keep Going On song from the Bensons, which is one of those songs that has gotten me through this last year, through this last 6 months, and I know it's gotten a lot of people through. And so much gratitude for whatever it is that helped you be, that was your sanctuary, was your receiving place. And I offer you their words as a benediction. And I pray that when we meet again, that the world has changed into the world we are imagining. And I pray that the seeds we are planting inside of ourselves will grow for ourselves and for our ancestors and for our kids. It is a rough beginning. All I've got is a rough beginning. The Keep Going On song. Keep going on, my friends. It is such a joy to be here with you and to be here with you.
I think there must be a place in the soul, made of tunes of long ago. I hear the organ on the Main Street corner, and Sarah humming gospel. Summer evenings, the village cornet band playing in the square, the town's red, white, and blue, all red, white, and